Hello, and welcome to the Piano Lessons for Parents podcast, the practice edition. My name is Dr. N. Mason Conklin, and I'm here to help you help your child succeed at the piano. In just a few minutes a week, you can learn the basic musical concepts that will help you supervise and evaluate your child's practice time at home, and learn some tricks and tips to help make that practice time the most effective that it can be. In today's edition of the podcast, we'll talk about the practice strategy for learning longer pieces of music. At the very beginning stages, the pieces that your child learns are really very short. And because they're so short, it's pretty much okay for your child to practice them from the beginning to the end and just practice the entire piece. But as they get more used to reading music and the process and the mechanics of putting that music on the piano, the pieces are going to start to get longer. And as the pieces get longer, that strategy, starting at the beginning and going to the end, begins to lose its effectiveness. So, what do? Well, you need a strategy that will work for these longer pieces of music. And so, here is that strategy. There are two parts to this strategy. Number one, divide and conquer. And number two, assimilate or die. So, divide and conquer. Step one, decide on where each section of your piece starts and ends. Step two, learn a single section. Step 3, practice that single section. And then step 4, you repeat steps 2 and 3 with all the remaining sections. After you've done that, you're ready for the second part of this process, and that is assimilate or die. So step 5, you would resection your music by combining 2 or more of your smaller practice sections into one section. Then you practice that longer section. Step 7, repeat for the remaining larger sections. And then step 8, you continue to combine sections until you're playing the entire piece. So let's go through each of those steps one at a time. So first, you divide and conquer. If you remember from a previous podcast, the most important thing you will ever learn about practicing the piano is practice means repeating sections correctly. So, as you look at a longer piece, you want to decide where your sections begin and end. You want the section to be a musically complete thought, and sometimes you might need to use the lyrics to help you decide where a section should begin or end. Most typically in beginning piano pieces, the sections are going to be about 4 measures in length. And let me show you a piece of music. This is called Let's Get Silly. Again, it's from the Hal Leonard Lessons, Book 1. And this piece is 16 measures long. So what you want to do is to cut these 16 measures down into more manageable sections. About 4 measures is going to be about the right size of section for this piece. If you'll read the lyrics, come play in the yard with me, laugh and twirl around. That's a pretty complete thought. Tickle all our funny bones, fall down on the ground. That's a pretty complete thought. Make up jokes and crazy names, sing a funny song. Complete thought. Laugh so hard that we can't breathe, bring a friend along. And that's a complete thought. So our sections might look something like this. This would be section 1. This would be section 2. This would be section 3. And this would be section 4. Now at this stage, you could also take a close look at these sections because in piano music, a lot of times it comes back. So if we look at this first section, come play in the yard with me, laugh and twirl around. If we look at our finger numbers, 4, 4, 4, 4, 3, 3, 3, 2, 2, 2, 2, left hand 3. I don't know what that is. If we look over at section 3, it goes 4, 4, 4, 4, 3, 3, 3, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3. You can see that sections 1 and 3 are actually exactly the same. So that can really help you strategize your practice even further. If you know that you have really practiced and learned section 1, then you also know it's not going to take you as much time to deal with section 3. You already know it. So, step 1, make sure you find the sections of the longer piece. Step 2, you learn one section. So what do you have to do to learn a section? Well, you have to know how to count it. Can your child count this piece? 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, shh. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, shh, shh. Okay, so they can count it. Can they get their hands in the right position? Look up at the fingering chart. Can they play the correct notes? At the point that they can play the correct notes with the correct rhythms, they've learned the section. But they haven't practiced it yet. And that is step 3. After learning the section, practice the section. Practice repeating this section correctly. And a bare minimum of repetitions is 3. They need to play it at least 3 times. Perfect. It would be even better if they did it 5 times or 7 times. And remember, that's the soul of practicing, repeating a section correctly. That's what's going to make this section reliable. Then step 4, you repeat steps 2 and 3 with the rest of the sections. So you would learn section 2, then you would practice section 2. You would learn section 3, and you would practice section 3. You would learn section 4, and you would practice section 4. At that point, you have divided and conquered. We've divided this longer piece into 4 manageable sections, and we've conquered each individual section. But we're not quite done. Now we need to knit these pieces back together into a seamless whole. So we start the process that I like to call assimilate or die. If you're a Star Trek fan, you might recognize the reference there. So we combine 2 or more sections into one larger practice section. So I'm going to take sections 1 and 2, and I'm going to make them one big section. Step 6, practice that section. So that means play from here to here correctly, repeatedly. So 3 times. Once you get to this stage, these sections should be pretty solid, so it doesn't take quite as much to make sure that it's going to be reliable. 3 times is great, 5 times would be better, 7 times even better than that. Then the final step is to continue to combine these sections. So this would be the second larger practice section. We'd go from here to here and repeat it correctly several times. And then you keep combining sections until eventually the entire piece is your section. I don't know why it didn't draw the triangle all the way across. Can't help it. But you would start at the beginning, and now you should be able to go all the way to the end. And that's what you're practicing. You'll practice from the beginning to the end and repeat that correctly 3, 5, 7 times. You may need to go back to an earlier stage. Let's say problems start to develop in this last section, small section of music. You may need to go back and say, I need to work on section 4 by itself a little bit, and then recombine it with section 3, and then try the whole thing again. All right, that is it. That is how you practice a longer piece of music. Make sure you tune in next time for the Piano Lessons for Parents podcasts, and we will be talking about rests, signs in music that tell you not to play anything at that point. See you then.